My name is Robin Lee. Welcome to Buzz on the Bluffs, Vicksburg, Mississippi's Community Insight Program. We'll be taking a look at people, places, and events that impact our community. Thanks for joining us. Thank you so much for joining me today on Buzz on the Bluffs. My guest is Judge Chaney. Welcome.
Glad to be here.
Glad to have you here. I don't think I've ever interviewed a judge before.
Well, I hope it won't be too bad.
I'm going to ask you a lot of questions.
Good enough.
Okay, so let's start. Are you from Vicksburg?
I am. I graduated from Warren Central, and my parents were both raised here in Warren County.
So you're a hometown boy?
I am.
And so you just went off to school. Where did you go to school?
I went to Ole Miss, undergraduate, and then stayed and went 3 more years to law school, 2.5 years in law school.
At State?
Law school's at Ole Miss too.
Oh, okay. I'm purple and gold, LSU.
Well, we'll still get through this fine.
You'll excuse that? Is that what you said?
I will. I like purple and gold, but more for Alcorn than LSU,
yeah.
I confess.
Well, Alcorn's a great place.
It is.
Okay, so what do you do for fun in Vicksburg? Because you can't just sit around and be a judge all the time, right?
Well, this is true. So I enjoy hunting and fishing, and Vicksburg's a great place to do that.
It is.
I grew up doing that in Bovina, and I've got a little tree farm up north of town, and I enjoy hunting and fishing, and I really enjoy getting up there on my old tractor and just cutting grass and letting that hum of that diesel engine just sort of drown out all the noise. So.
Well, we may have to work out a deal because I have this problem out in Bovina on my little acreage. I have a minimum of 10 does that won't get off my property. They eat my garden. And I keep trying to get somebody to come out there and do something about it.
Well,
do you bow hunt?
I do not, but I have some friends who do, and I can put them on to you. And,
okay. I don't have enough land to shoot them. Well, I mean, I go out there and shoot my gun, but not to hunt.
Right.
We didn't want to kill anybody in the process, especially with you being a judge and all.
Well,
that may not look good.
It would not.
And me being an insurance agent, that might be a bad combination.
That's right. That's right.
So how did you end up being a judge? I mean, when you're 8 years old, do you sit around and think, when I grow up, I want to be a judge one day?
I don't remember doing that. But judges have to be lawyers, first of all. And so I practiced law here in Vicksburg for about 30 years. And then a vacancy came up when Judge Voller retired with a year or so left on his term. So I was fortunate to get the appointment from Governor Barber, and then I ran unopposed last time. So I've been a judge a little over 5 years now.
Oh, wow. And what, so I don't even know how to ask the questions because I don't really understand too much about the whole court system, but are you a circuit judge?
I'm a circuit judge.
What are all those divisions, and what's different about being circuit than something else?
Okay, in Mississippi we have a circuit judge, circuit court, and a chancery court. Those are the two divisions of the major trial courts. And so chancery court handles estates, domestic relations, divorces, some land disputes, will contests, those sorts of things. Most of the chancery court matters are non-jury, just decided by a judge. Judge Vicki Roach Barnes is our chancellor or chancery court judge. Circuit court handles all your felony crimes. That's any crime that's punishable by imprisonment in the state of the parchment, all the way up to death penalty cases in certain rare events. And then circuit court judges also handle civil cases, which will be your larger personal injury claims or contractual claims. Almost all the trials in circuit court are jury trials.
And is that for this county or for an area?
Well, the area, I'm the Ninth Circuit Court, one of the Ninth Circuit Court judges, and so we cover Warren County, Sharkey, and Nisqually County.
Okay.
Other circuit court districts have maybe more or less counties, but they're all over the state.
So how many circuit court judges are there in the state?
I do not know.
In our Ninth
in our district there's two.
Okay.
Myself and Judge Isidore Patrick.
Okay, all right, gotcha. And it's part of what you do is you handle drug court, right?
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about that.
I would love to. Drug court was started by Judge Voller, I'm guessing probably 8 or 9 years ago. And when Judge Voller started the drug court here, it was one of the first 4 or 5 drug courts in the state. Now, drug courts cover the entire state of Mississippi. And I'll confess that I was a little skeptical about drug court. Didn't know too much about it, but I had started attending some of the drug court staffing and some of the drug court hearings before I got the appointment, just because I was interested. I wanted to find out a little bit about it. And I am now 100% in favor of drug court.
So when we say drug court, what does that mean? How is that different from just all the other stuff that you handle as a judge, as a circuit judge?
Okay, drug court is, some people might refer to that as one of the alternative courts or problem-solving courts, it may be referred to. But it's sort of outside of the gambit of a regular trial where somebody in a criminal matter is either found guilty or innocent. If they're found guilty, then they're sentenced. And so, although the judge has discretion perhaps in the number of years and how many years of probation, there's not really much else the judge can do. Drug court is entirely different, because if someone is eligible for drug court and if they're accepted by drug court, and I can go over that in a minute if you're interested, but then they have intense supervision directly by the judge, by the court. And so here in Warren County, drug courts, and it's after hours, after the regular, so it doesn't clog up the court docket. So, So Monday evenings after 5 o'clock, then we have staffing. And the staffing group, it would be myself and Judge Patrick, a representative from the district attorney's office, somebody from the sheriff's office, somebody from the city police, somebody from the district attorney, healthcare professionals, and we all sit around and discuss the cases and who's doing good and who needs some more help and that sort of thing. And
so is this in an effort to, I'm sorry to interrupt you, to keep all that out of the regular court system and to keep those people out of the prison system, to keep it from getting clogged up?
It does both of those things.
Okay.
But the most important thing in my opinion is that it is more effective in helping change people's lives. The studies show that, sending somebody to prison for 5 years who has a drug problem or whose crime was because of an addiction, that the rate of staying in that cycle just continued. And in drug court, sometimes we can see it can dramatically affect people's lives, completely turn them around. I can see them coming to drug court, and maybe for the first 3 or 4 weeks, they have to come every week.
Oh, they do.
Get started. And so do that, and all of a sudden you'll kind of see the light bulb, a little bit of a spark, and simple things like when I give them a certificate for being sober for 60 days, and their eyes light up, and they've never done that, and the other participants get excited and applaud, and we help celebrate those little steps like that. And then they realize, there's a chance they can beat this thing, not by themselves. And we encourage them, we require them to go to 12-step meetings and programs. And of course, that's based on, part of that is based on giving up and say, I can't do it by myself. And you look to a higher power, you look to God. God as you know it, it has a spiritual component to it. And when all of a sudden they get that, then it's remarkable, and they can change their lives.
So there's more to it than just consequences of going to jail or to prison. That it's actually some hope, and they have some accountability.
It's right. We've got a toolbox of incentives and a toolbox of sanctions.
And there's a support system involved.
And there's a support system involved, and so there's sometimes they mess up, and that addiction is so strong that when they know, when they're in phase 1, they may be tested 4 times a week. So they know they're going to be tested. They know if they smoke a joint or drink a beer, they're going to get caught. And sometimes they still do it. And that just shows how strong that addiction pull is. And when they do, if it's the first time, they may go to jail for 24 hours. Quickly. There's no hearing, there's no delay. It happens. But they're not kicked out of the program, and they're encouraged and try to get back on their feet and try to stay sober again. And again, we give them little certificates if they do it for 90 or 120 or 270 days. And then they graduate into different phases. And as they graduate to different phases, meeting attendance is less. They don't have to come to court every week. They might have to come to court just every 2 weeks, something like that. So there's little incentives, and there's a whole bag of sanctions too. And they're graduated. If it's a 3rd or 4th offense, we look at that. But before they ever get into drug court, they have to go to in-house treatment, typically, which is 30 days. So that's in-house treatment somewhere, and there's approved facilities throughout the state of Mississippi.
And who pays for that?
Well, that's another one of the good things about drug court. Now, drug court has funding, most of it from the state, some from the county. But the drug court participants have to pay for their continuing supervision, the money on the field officers to go check on them, to do the routine tests for the chemicals, for the machines. They also have to pay on their court fines. So if somebody had committed broken into somebody's car to steal a phone to get money to buy drugs, they may have to pay restitution. They may have to pay a court fine. And we at drug court make them do it. Mm-hmm. They pay on a monthly basis. They have to have a job. If they've got children, they have to support their families. And so if I send them to prison for 5 years, first of all, they'll probably be out in 9 months. But secondly, they'll have that fine. While they're in prison, they're not paying taxes, they're not supporting anything, and when they get out, they don't pay the fines, and they've got no treatment, they've got no support system. And so it's tough. And it's tough to get into drug court. Mm-hmm. And but I tell them when I send them, and Judge Patrick does something similar, but I say, look, I believe in it, it works, but it's going to take a lot of hard work on your part. And then I also tell them every time, if after 6 weeks or 2 or 3 months you decide it's silly and there's too many crazy rules and regulations and you want out, that's fine. I'll let you out. But then you're going to go to the penitentiary. Yeah. And so drug court, somebody can stay in drug court as long as 5 years. Mm-hmm. And we had a situation for a while that people were saying they were eligible for drug court. They had been approved for drug court. But some were saying, hey, I don't want it. I'd rather go ahead and, 3 hots in a cot, go to prison for a few months, get out, rather than to have 5 years of having to come talk to Judge Patrick and me every week, of having a field officer show up at your work, see if you're there, take the routine test. And so we had to increase the sentencing a little bit to do that. But it's a remarkable thing. And so for those people that it works and changes their lives, it's just amazing. And they come back. They come back even when they're through with drug court to support the others who've just got into the system.
That's perfect.
Now, it doesn't work for everybody.
Yeah.
But my spin on that is, okay, if it doesn't, they've still got prison hanging over their head. And so if they have paid some on their fines, if they've paid some on their restitution, if they've paid for their drug court supervision, and after 18 months or 3 years, they don't make it, then they go to the penitentiary. So you haven't given up that last straw, so to speak, for drug court to work. And the other thing that I'd like for people to really understand is that to get into drug court, you have to have committed, violent offenders, for instance, are not eligible. So mm-hmm. there's a certain group of offenders that are eligible for drug court. But even then, it has to be approved by law enforcement, whether it's a city or county, depending on where the crime was committed. It has to be approved by the district attorney. It has to be approved by the judges. And then we've got 2 or 3 defense attorneys that are on the staffing team and 2 or 3 healthcare professionals. And it's not a majority vote. Any one person can blackball or keep somebody into drug court. Mm-hmm. And so it has to be unanimous before mm-hmm. you even get in the program. And it's limited to certain types of offenses to do it. But it keeps them out of prison. It offers them treatment and really strict, intense supervision. Mm-hmm. And I think all of those things together.
And surely some of those people will be helped.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. No doubt about it. Absolutely. Some are. A lot are.
Well, this is really interesting. I think what I want to do is have you come back and we'll talk about another aspect of circuit court. And then, we could probably sit here and talk for another hour about it, but then people won't have time to watch it.
I get excited about it. I've got a passion for it, but I understand, and there are lots of other things that are going with circuit court.
Well, good.
I'd love to have a chance to visit with you again.
Perfect. So we may do like a 2 or 3 part series because this is pretty interesting. I didn't know all that. I've heard drug court, but I didn't know what that meant, and I suspect most people don't.
Sounds good.
It's a good thing we don't know what that means, but
probably so.
But thank you for coming, Judge Chaney, and we'll see you soon.
Enjoy it. Thank you.